Hi, welcome everyone. I think we might have a few more people jumping on as we get going, but I think we'll get started on time to respect everybody's time today. Thank you for joining. My name is Lisa Lovering, and I am with the Minnesota Department of Commerce, and I'm a senior financial fraud investigator with them. I've been with them for about a year, and prior to that, I was in law enforcement for about 31 years, and I worked a lot with various different frauds and a lot with senior citizens as well. So this was a good position for me to continue working with seniors across the state of Minnesota. So I'll talk a little bit about what I do at Department of Commerce towards the end of the presentation. We're going to talk about what Commerce does, Commerce itself in general, and we're also going to talk about scams. And we're also going to talk about financial exploitation and fraud and how to recognize some of the situations that you might see coming into your credit union. At the end, I do allow some time for questions. So feel free to ask questions if you have questions as we go along, and I will try to monitor the chat as well. If there's any technical problems, you can't hear me, you can't see the slides, please let me know so that we can take care of those right away. So we'll get started, and as people join us, we'll just let them join as we go along. So to start out, what Commerce does in general is Commerce is basically there to protect consumers. So they regulate over 40 different industries in the state of Minnesota, and their job is to just oversee those industries and to help consumers and to engage people in their community with different programming. Some of the things that they oversee would be insurance companies, real estate companies, mortgage, debt collectors. They oversee banks, they oversee credit unions, they oversee weights and measures, which would include things like the little stickers on the gas pumps that say when you pump a gallon of gas, you're getting a gallon of gas. They oversee ATMs. They're also overseeing Bitcoin now too. So they have a lot of different industries that they regulate throughout the state of Minnesota. So let's talk about the population of we're going to hope this works. Hang on a second. Why this isn't going here. Oh, there it goes. All right. So the U.S. population is aging. Our older adults, people over 65, outnumber children and teenagers in Minnesota. So that's a lot of people who are potential victims of fraud and financial exploitation in our state. Our oldest residents, people are over 85, are expected to more than double in the next 35 years. So if you think of all the cases that you have and then double those with the people over 85, we're going to have a lot of people facing fraud and scams and financial exploitation in the years to come. So there's a lot of factors that also have an impact on financial exploitation, and obviously that's money. There's expected to be over $68 trillion that's going to pass the hands from baby boomers to their adult children. And some people don't want to wait for that money, so they might financially exploit their family members, or the scammers are sitting there waiting to take that money from them so that it doesn't pass on to their children. So there is a difference between fraud and financial exploitation. Some people don't always get what the difference is, so we'll talk about that. So financial exploitation is the illegal, unauthorized, or improper act that exploits, deprives an older adult of their resources for monetary or personal benefit, profit, or gain. That is usually a trusted person. So that is usually a person who has a guardianship, they have power of attorney, they have some type of paperwork to help that older adult, or maybe it's just a family member that's just taking their money without their permission. It can be a stranger. We don't typically see too much financial exploitation occurring from an unknown person. It is usually someone that they know. Fraud, on the other hand, that's the people that are the strangers. Those are the scam calls that people are getting. And that is the intent to deceive for monetary gain. So the cases that you see in financial exploitation would be cases such as embezzlement, falsifying records, coerced property transfer, denial of access to assets. These are the ones where they're taking the power of attorney, they're transferring money to their own bank accounts, that kind of situations. And fraud, those are the scams that we're seeing. The imposter scams, the romance scams, lottery scams, gift cards, Bitcoin, all of the scams that are out there, that's where the fraud is happening. So defining that financial exploitation is the illegal or improper use of an older adult's funds, property, or assets. And that even includes someone who does have the legal authority, so they have a power of attorney to handle their funds. Sometimes it's just permission to try and steal from them as well. So this is just another chart that just shows the difference with elder financial exploitation, the frauds and the scams being a stranger with the perpetrator, and the financial abuse would be someone that they know. So what is the cost of financial exploitation and fraud? This chart is from AARP from 2023, and so it shows $28.3 billion was lost in 2023 to financial abuse and scams and fraud. But if you notice the financial abuse or the financial exploitation, that number is larger, that 20.3 billion. That's someone that the victim knew that took that money. And the $8 billion is scams and frauds. The other thing to keep in mind is this number was the number that was reported to AARP. So think of all the cases that you know about that might have been financial exploitation or fraud that weren't reported to AARP. So this number is obviously very low. But this gives us a rough idea of where some of those numbers fall. This also shows that fraud does occur with younger people, but we also see that older people lose more money than the older people. So younger people report it more. So this shows 43% of people 20 to 29 reported their losses, but their losses were only around $548. Whereas older adults only reported 23% of the time, and their reported loss was over $1,600. This report shows also, this was from 2022, shows the same thing. People over 80 years old were reporting losing over $1,800, and 20 to 29 were reporting just over $500 losses. So this shot just talks about where some of the money is being lost. Phone calls report about $1,400 is the median loss. Social media, the highest is $1.4 billion reported using social media. And email, there's over 358,000 reports. This was reported to the Federal Trade Commission, which also gathers all of the data for different scams and frauds throughout the United States. So why are older adults susceptible to all of these frauds and scams and financial exploitations? As people age, they go through a lot of different life situations. There's death, there's divorce, there's medical situations, they're retiring, they're moving, they've got, the stock market, maybe they're losing some money. There's a lot of situations that make them more vulnerable. And loneliness is also one of the top situations for why a lot of our older adults are victims. They're lonely. They're sitting at home, and when their phone rings, they answer it. It doesn't matter if it says potential spam. They're answering their phones because they want someone to talk to. I talked to one gentleman a while back, and he was a victim of a scam, and he just told me, he goes, I could talk to you all day. Well, the problem is he does have family, but they don't talk to him every day. He's lonely. He wants someone to talk to. So when the neighbor lady asks him for money, he gives him money because she's giving him companionship. She's the one that's coming to visit him, so he keeps giving her money. So 25% of our older Americans are living alone, and 50% are unmarried. So they're potential victims. They're just ready and willing to be victims because they want someone to be their friend. When someone with a romance scam comes along, they're more than ready to believe everything they say because they're not part of a social group. They're not out getting active, but they're willing to believe what the person says on their phone, so they're willing to send them money. So also as we age, our decision-making starts to decline. And this is just normal aging. So a lot of the time, as we're aging, it says 30 to 40% of normal agers make suboptimal financial choices. So this chart here shows you, as we age, the top line or the brown line going across This is where people tested in their confidence of able to manage their money. This is their confidence level. The blue line, the bottom line, is the one where they actually tested. So you can see as they age, how that number goes down. That's where their actual financial literacy. So people think they're really confident when they're 85 years old, but really when they test out, their percentage of financial literacy questions answered is less than 30%. That's correct. So they're not really making the best financial decisions for themselves. So then if we add dementia or any other cognitive impairment in there, you can see how this takes a really sharp decline as they age. Normal aging is on the top with a slow decline, but you add any cognitive impairment and that really takes a sharp nosedive on them as well. So they also are not able to make those great financial decisions, and they need help with those decisions. So some red flags of some financial abuse that you can look for is different changes in their spending pattern, or maybe some of their paperwork is getting changed, their power of attorney is changing, there's maybe different court orders coming in. There's different unplanned withdrawals, often in 2-week intervals. A lot of the scammers know how banks operate, and they are instructing people to only make withdrawals every 2 weeks. They don't make them every day, don't make them at once a month, but they're seeing a pattern in making 2-week interval withdrawals. Any changes in longstanding estate plans? Are they changing who beneficiaries are? Are they being coached? Are they coming into the bank on the phone and they have someone that's telling them what to say? We hear this one a lot, that they're coming into the bank and they're telling the teller, oh, the money's for my grandson. And when the teller pushes them a little bit or asks some follow-up questions, they only respond when the person on the phone tells them what to say. So asking those questions to them is important. We've even seen it where the person at the bank has asked them a question about the money, and the person said, well, it's for my house. And they said, oh, I thought you lived in an apartment. Well, then they were coached to say, oh, it's for some car repairs. And then the teller said, well, I thought your grandson drove you here. And so they keep changing their story as the questions are changed, but they're being coached as to what to say. And they will lie to everybody, including their family, about it. They'll also make different gifts or transfers of property to others, and it could be people that they don't know. Some other warning signs and when to follow up with it. So some suspicious financial activity, again, would be that uncharacteristic activity. Maybe they don't take out a lot of money out of their account frequently, and all of a sudden they're coming in and taking out a couple $1,000s every other day or every 2 weeks, which is not consistent with their previous pattern. They're changing their banking statements, so they're not mailed to home. Is somebody else getting their banking statements so that they can't see any activity that's happening? Their power of attorney changes, suspicious signatures, or somebody else is conducting their transactions. They're coming in with another person who is speaking for them or telling them what to say. Some other suspicious behavior is when the person is really confused about the transactions. When a scammer has control over these people, they truly don't understand what they're doing. They don't understand what the money is for. I had a gentleman who received a check for around $7,000 from another gentleman in Washington. And speaking with both of these gentlemen, neither one of them truly understood what they were supposed to be doing with the money. They were told it had something to do with a truck, but neither one of them could really tell me. But I think they were part of a larger scam. And so we were able to get their money back without them losing any money. But they're all very confused and they don't understand what's going on. A third party who's overly interested in their affairs, preventing them from accessing or interviewing the older adult. We do see this one a bit, where maybe they'll take the older adult's phone, they'll change their phone number to the whoever that third party is. Noticeable changes in the adult's appearance or demeanor. Are they very subdued? Are they not talking? Maybe they're just disheveled. What are they looking like? Are they not being cared for? It might prompt a report to adult protection as well. So maybe the older adult exhibits unusual excitement or anxiety and expresses urgency. This is usually because the scammer has threatened them has told them someone's coming to their home to harm them or their family. If it's a grandparent scam, such as, grandma bail me out of jail, they're going to hurt me. They won't tell you what that money is for, but they're going to be they want to get that money as fast as possible so that they can help the person that they think they're helping, but it's really going to be going to the scammer. So I'll just real quickly talk about a couple of scams that we see a lot of. So imposter scams, lottery and sweepstakes, romance, tech support, investment scams, the grandparent scam, and gift cards. And I lost my mouse. Here it is. All right. So how are they contacting them on these scams? All different ways. They're texting, they're calling them, computers, they're taking over computers, emails are the fake emails, social media, they're contacting people on Facebook, Facebook Messenger, and the mail. Those are the ones usually where we see where they get a letter saying that they've won something in a sweepstakes. Caller ID spoofing. So this is part of the imposter scam. These ones we see quite a bit where the scammer is using a phone number and then it shows up as somebody else's phone number. So I've had it happen where somebody called me, it was a scammer, and it said it was from Hennepin County. Well, I legitimately could have been getting a phone call from Hennepin County, so I did answer the phone, and it was a scammer. And I asked them why it was coming up as Hennepin County, and she hung up on me. But they will also use bank information and say it's from the bank, and then call people and say there's something wrong at the bank. You need to pull all your money out and move it over to this account. And people often believe them because they will threaten them with other things. So it's just things for them to be aware of. Other tech support scams call from alleged tech company that they've detected a virus, or pop-ups that tell them that they need to take care of things. They might call, say that there's something wrong with their internet. They want to get into their computer. They want to have access to their computer. And a lot of times they'll let them because they believe them. And then they will access their bank accounts and other information such as passwords. I had one lady who thought she had Xfinity accessing her computer, and they were starting to transfer her Apple stock out of her account, and her broker was able to stop that. So another scams are, when this is what we tell people, if you haven't met someone face to face, you should not be paying them in cash. So people are sending large amounts of cash in shoe boxes. They're taping it inside of magazines and sending it to different places. Gift cards, my rule to my seniors is gift cards are for gifts. We don't make payments. You don't pay bail. You don't pay any other services with gift cards. You only pay them for gifts. Any wiring of money is usually a signal to us that it could be a scam. I tell people, unless they're involved in some type of a real estate transaction or something where wiring money is common, they should not be wiring money to anyone. And cryptocurrency is a big one as well because they don't understand that. There's a story in Maple Grove a few months ago that the gentleman, again, thought he called Xfinity. He dialed the wrong number and actually got a scammer who convinced him to withdraw $25,000 out of the bank. And he went to a cryptocurrency machine. He deposited $23,000 before the clerk stopped him. And he had $2,000, but he lost the rest of that money. So why are they buying gift cards? They're virtually untraceable. They can be converted. Usually what they do, I talked to one lady who was in a scam, and she was on the phone with the scammer for 6 hours while he told her what to do with gift cards. So she actually drove to the store to buy the gift cards. She bought several $100s in gift cards and then went out to her car, scratched the back of the gift cards off, and gave him all the money or all the numbers off the back. At the same time, he was transferring the money off of those gift cards into other accounts. So it moves very quickly and there's no way to get it back or to trace the money. Investment fraud, these are the ones we're seeing with the pig butchering. It's a type of a hybrid romance or investment scam. It's not a nice word, and I don't know how many people are really familiar with it, but basically what they do is they are grooming people. They're getting them to trust them, to make them believe that they're really their friend, that they're really there to help them. and basically, and then they have them take in other money. So they're kind of fattening them up. And then once they're ready, they basically go in for the kill, and then they have them take out all the money, and the person is left with nothing. So I don't like the name of it, but that's what it's called. So how do these guys get the money? So they're using heightened emotions. They're isolating these people, and they're using anonymous communication. So the heightened emotions, they're using threats, they're using love, they're using anger, they're trying to get them to trust them, but they're also isolated. Like I said before, a lot of these people are lonely, and they will isolate them even more and make sure that they do not tell their family anything. This is their secret. It's their secret romance. Don't tell anybody about this. Don't tell anyone that you've really won the lottery. Your family will be so happy for you. So they'll just play on a lot of emotions. Most of it is anonymous communication. Like I said, they're using fake numbers. They're using apps such as WhatsApp to have communication, which is, we can't trace that as well. And a lot of it comes from out of the country, so they can't get a hold of them there either. So they pretend to be someone that you trust. So they'll tell you, you know, they're a 4-star general. They're the president of the bank. They're going to impersonate people to try and gain trust. And a lot of people fall for it because our older adults they trust people and they believe people, and they don't understand that we can't trust like we used to. They create the sense of urgency, intimidation, or fear. If they don't do something, something bad is going to happen. Someone's coming to your house. Somebody's going to get hurt. You need to do this now. If you don't pull out all your money, you're going to lose all your money. So they will start to threaten them and use a lot of intimidation. And people are very scared. And that's why they won't tell you the truth when you ask them the questions. They'll ask to pay in specific ways. They're going to ask for those wire transfers. They're going to ask for those gift cards. Put your money in the cryptocurrency machine. And that's why I tell people, if you don't know who these people are, you should not be paying them. I tell people, if you're going to go make a large purchase, you've usually planned that purchase out, because that's a lot of money. Whether it's, you know, $500 or $5,000, that's a lot of money, and you should be planning where that money is going and not just believing someone that's calling you on the phone to send them some money. So one thing that we've seen is how we react to these crimes is different than how we react to violent crimes. So with violent crimes, we show empathy to people who maybe had a burglary at their home. You know, that's horrible. How could that happen to you? I can't believe, you know, there's such bad people. But then when we have financial crimes, we blame the person. We tell, you know, how could you fall for that? You know better than that. Why do we do that? We need to be able to support these people and tell them it's not their fault. We all have gotten the text messages. We've all gotten the emails. We've all gotten the phone calls. We need to share our stories with each other, and we need to spread that word so that we can educate everyone, so that we can try and help each other and support each other in these crimes, and not make people feel ashamed to have been a victim of a financial crime. No matter who it was, even if it was their own family that was taking their money, we need to make sure we're supporting them. So if we reframed our words and said it's not your fault, these scammers are very good. This is their job. This is what they do all day long. And people need to understand that as well, that they're not the only one. In a romance scam, they actually have schedules to call people. So someone might believe they're in love with this person, and they say, well, I will call you Thursday at 9. Well, they're calling another victim at Thursday at 11 and another victim at Thursday at 1. They have a schedule of when to call their victims back. The victims never call the scammers. And so people need to understand that as well. And we need to help them understand that. But we need to show empathy to these people and empower these victims to help them. So just some quickly, I'm sure you know a lot of this stuff, but some ways that you can help protect, or what you can do to help protect your information, is protect your personal information, shred sensitive information, attend shred events, you know, in your community, or host a shred event in your community, monitoring bills and financial accounts. I tell my seniors this a lot because some of them only get their bank statements every 30 days. And sometimes the scammers are testing out their accounts. I had this happen to me myself a year ago. I just happened to log on to my bank account and was missing over $2,000. There were 3 transactions that had just occurred, and I quickly called my financial institution, and she had shut my account down and said they're still trying. And on my bank statement, we traced the address. It said it was out of SpaceX out of California. And no, I was not funding space missions that day, but they were able to shut it down and do that. But I tell my seniors, if I would not have done that and I waited 30 days for my bank account or my bank statement to come, what would have happened? All that money would have been gone, and I don't know if I would have been able to get that money back. So I tell them, make sure you're monitoring all of your accounts and reporting any suspicious transactions. Considering fraud alerts on your credit reports, especially if they're getting letters in the mail of any data breaches, and to watch over their credit reports by contacting annualcreditreport.com, where they can also do their fraud alerts. So this is why you're here. So now I'm done talking about that. So in Minnesota, we have the Safe Seniors Financial Protection Act. So we were one of the first states to get this act passed. It was passed 5 years ago, so 2019. And we've been trying to get the word out across the state. We still have a long ways to go. I think there's a lot of partners that need to still know about this, but it's a way for us to work together with adult protection, with law enforcement, and with our financial institutions to help stop some of the financial exploitation that is occurring across the state to our senior victims. So it's called Chapter 45A, the Safe Seniors Protection Act. So it is a partnership. We can only do this if we work together. And so our goals is that we work with our financial service providers to prevent the fraud and exploitation. We do have a rapid response to reports that we get, and all of our reports are confidential. So when we receive a report, we immediately start working on it in our team. There's 3 of us that work in our team, and we monitor the emails during the day, and then we work on them as we need to, as they see fit. And I'll go through some of those. So the purpose of the statute is to prevent a substantial financial loss by compelling financial service providers to place a temporary hold on account transactions or delay disbursements of clients who are suspected victims of fraud or exploitation. So it provides immunity to the financial service provider for holding the funds. It also provides immunity for reporting to Commerce, and it does not prevent the client from withdrawing funds to pay for daily living expenses, care, housing costs. It only stops the suspicious transactions. This statute only covers any adult over the age of 65 or a person who is classified as a vulnerable adult age 18 to 64. So if we have, let's say, someone who's 45 years old and lives in a group home, they would be classified as a vulnerable adult. So if somebody such as a guardian or maybe somebody in the group home is taking the vulnerable adult's funds, somebody can file a report with us and we are able to place a hold on that vulnerable adult's funds, as well as work with adult protection to get another, probably like a guardian in place to help manage their funds. But the nice thing is it covers any adult over the age of 65. So they do not need to be classified a vulnerable adult, and they do not need to be working with adult protection for us to do that. So when I say prevents a substantial financial loss by compelling financial service providers, the statute actually says that financial service providers shall place a hold when they learn of fraud or financial exploitation that is occurring on the account. So just this morning, I had an account with a person who has a court-appointed guardian who has taken over $30,000 out of the vulnerable adult's funds. The vulnerable adult is 60 years old. I work with the financial service provider, and we have placed a hold on the bank account so that that guardian can no longer take out the $2,000 cash that they're taking out and putting into their own bank account. So I tell that the bank that there is financial exploitation occurring, I filed a report with adult protection. And then right now I'm waiting for adult protection to contact me so that we can come up with a plan so someone else can manage this vulnerable adults funds. Oh, there's a typo on this one. This says initial hold is for 10. It's actually the initial hold is for 15 business days. And business days is important because that gives us a lot of time. The hold can be extended an additional 10 business days if there's an open investigation with adult protection or law enforcement. So the 15 business days during that time, if adult protection comes up with, say, a guardian or somebody else in rep payee, someone in place to manage their funds after 8 business days, we can release that hold. It does not need to stay on for the full 15 days. But if we go through the 15 business days and someone says, we still have an investigation, we're still working to get something in place, we need another 10 business days, we'll extend that 10 business days so that they can continue their investigation and continue working so that the vulnerable adult doesn't lose all of their funds. Financial institutions can report to the Minnesota Adult Abuse Reporting Center. This reports to adult protection and to law enforcement automatically. Financial institutions can place the hold or delay transactions on their own. They do not need a call from Commerce to do that. If they suspect or you suspect financial exploitation is going on or somebody is involved in a fraud or a scam, you can place a hold on those transactions until more work can be done to find out what is going on. So that's just financial institutions shall delay or place a hold if they're provided information that financial exploitation is occurring. So what happens when we get the report? We review the report. We investigate the allegations to assess the risk. So we may contact the alleged victim. Sometimes we can't because they might be in a nursing home. They might be in memory care. But sometimes we get a report that from a financial institution that someone is involved in a romance scam. We will call the victim and have a conversation with them. Even though the bank has probably already talked to them, it's just another person to try and get through to them that they're involved in a scam. We'll contact the case reporter and third parties if we need to get more information on that. So then we decide what appropriate intervention. A hold is not always required. So we do not always put a hold on accounts. I probably only put a hold on about one in 4 accounts, or I'm sorry, reports that we get. So we do not do it to every single report that we get. It just might not be appropriate. But if we're getting a report from, say, adult protection, then we will reach out to the financial institution to implement that 15-day hold and let them know what's going on. We will educate the victim on scams to try and reduce risky behaviors. But like, when you talk to these people, it's hard to get through to them sometimes. And so a lot of times I just leave voicemails, and then pretty soon after a while, I've had them call me back and say, yeah, you were right. I was in a scam, and now what do I do? And usually by then it's too late. And then we may report to local or federal law enforcement or adult protection and the MARC system. All right, some other partners that we might work with would be multidisciplinary teams that include adult protection or law enforcement or other social service organizations that provide services to older adults. It might be ARP, it might be community groups or other professional memberships. But we get reports from anyone. We've had people self-report. We've had people, the neighbor report. We've had family reports, we've had attorneys report. So we get reports from a variety of different sources, but we will work with all of them. So anyone can report. This is the website that you can report to at the mn.gov/commerce/money. It is off the financial institutions that we do get the reports from, but we also get them a lot from adult protection and other friends as well. This statute only applies to financial institutions within Minnesota. So even if we have a national bank system, as long as they have a branch in Minnesota, the statute will cover that branch in Minnesota. This just kind of shows you the website. This is what it looks like for people to report the Senior Fraud Toolkit. You click on the Report Senior Financial Fraud. Whoops, I thought there was another slide. So you'll fill in the information. We do appreciate that those slides or the form is completely filled out with all the information that you know. And if you don't know something, that's okay. So if you don't know the person's name who's committing the financial exploitation, that's okay. But as long as we have the victim's name and hopefully a phone number, which we don't always have, but sometimes as long as somebody hasn't changed it, we'll have that so we can reach out to them. And your name and phone number for contact information, because once we receive your report, you will get an email back from us confirming that we received your report. And that way we can communicate with you if we have any other questions or any follow-up that we need to have done. All right, I think that's all that I have. Does anybody have any questions? Oops. Well, if you don't have any questions, I just encourage you to reach out to us, even if you just have a case that you just want to run by us. This is my contact information. You can certainly send us an email or give me a phone call. And if you just want to run by a scenario with me, we can certainly do that. And then if we need you to file a report, we'll have you file a report so we can open an official case on it. And then we can review it from there.
Thank you for logging in and joining us today. And please look forward to our next cybersecurity webinar in December with more great information. It'll be in person and also you can log in virtually. So thank you for joining us. Everyone have a great day. And thank you again, Lisa.
Thank you.